Alright, welcome back. In this video, we're gonna go over the script and everything that we just went over in the previous video. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clear this out, and I'm gonna go ahead and destroy this environment, so I'm not getting charged for it. Give it a second while it's running. It should give it a second to bring it down here. So we go over our explanation now. The meat and potatoes of the script is mostly in the variables TF file, where in here I have pretty much everything being like laid out for Terraform. So Terraform is basically, all right, let me confirm that I want these destroyed. Yes. All right, so now in this script, first thing I'm doing is I'm creating my key pairs. I'm setting my variables for the key pairs. What I'm doing is I'm setting this variable called key path and basically saying, hey, this is the path where I want my key pair to go. This is the key pair that gets stored locally on my machine. So what happens is when I use Ansible, I point Ansible to that PIM key, and Ansible uses that to log in and do configurations. But what I'm doing, and also I do that so if I need to log into the instance, I'm able to do so. So I basically create the path here, and I give the key pair a name. So that's kind of self-explanatory if for those who already know AWS. Now here's my EC2 variables. Here's the EC2 count where I could change this from 1 to 4. 1 to 4 EC2 instances. Right now the script count is limited to only running up to 4 EC2 instances at a time. As soon as you put in 5, it will go ahead and error out. I'll explain shortly why is that the case. Then we have our EC2 name, which is self-explanatory. We have our security group name, which we already saw. We have our regions, and then we have our instance types, which I put them all in a list. I put everything else in a list and this into a string. Into a map because I was just testing different variable types within Terraform. Here's our variables for our networking. Here's our VPC name. Here's our internet gateway name. Here's our route table name. Yeah, I don't know why I got rid of this. I got rid of the subnet name. I don't know why I got rid of it, but I'll figure. Oh, I know why. I know why. Because I forgot to set something up properly on the script. But we're about to fix that shortly. But otherwise, here's um, here is our public route table name, our private route table name. Here's our CIDR block for our VPC, which is also not hard coded in the script itself. It's also a variable. And here's our public subnet IP CIDR block, our private subnet CIDR block, and also our availability zone. Now, let's go into the rest of the script, which I'm gonna try to explain this as quickly as I can. All right, so let's go first to the key pairs, which that was the first variables we saw. All right, so here I am pretty much generating my SSH keys. So, for example, I'm going into basically think of this as I'm telling Terraform, hey, run open SSH key gen and basically generate two keys, a public key and a private key. This one creating my private key here, and then I'm taking that private key and I'm storing it locally on my machine, which we already saw the path in the variables section, let's go ahead and if you want to do a quick review of where that is right here where I'm storing the key pair, and then going back here, and I'm giving the permissions of it. I'm giving the file name, and I'm giving the contents of the file, which I'm basically copying whatever the contents of the private key that was generated. I'm copying it into that path to that file. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking the private key and I'm storing it locally on my machine, and I'm taking the public key and storing and giving that to Amazon, to AWS. So basically, if I need SSH into it, I'll be able to. Um, the next thing we have the next thing we saw was the EC2 um, EC2 configurations. Now here we have our EBS volume, which basically is basically creating an EBS volume. It's creating the EBS data volume resource it's creating based on the number of instances that are being created at the time. So right now, if 4 instances are being created, there's going to be only 4 EBS volumes. The EBS data volumes are going to be created, and just like how the availability zone is going to be how it determines the availability zone is the index, and it's counting the index. And what the index means is when I go here, if I scroll down to the availability names, you see that right here we have 4 entries into this variable, and each one is considered an index. This is index 0, 1, 2, and 3. So the reason why it's going based off of that, because for every EC2 that's created, instance 0 is going to be going into availability zone 0, into index 0. 1 is going to be to index 1, and so forth and so forth. And it's going to basically give a tag to the EBS volume. It was setting the size of 20 gigs. It's basically going to be given the tag of web EBS, and it's going to basically going to give output the index count. So what 0, 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to attach the volume to the EC2s. Like I said, I already explained it. 0 is going to be attached to 0. Um, index volume that's the EBS volume that's created in availability zone A is going to be attached to EC2 instance in availability zone A, and same thing with the instance in availability zone B. Is going to be the EBS volume in B is going to get attached, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Then here I'm creating my user data file, and I basically hard coded the script in here. I recommend not doing this, but this is just for demonstration purposes. Um, like I said, in the future I'll be using more Ansible. I'll be using Ansible to perform these tasks instead of for installing the EC2. I mean, installing Apache and things like that. I just did this for demonstration purposes for this video. So that's pretty much me basically creating a data file and calling it user data Linux, and basically hard coding everything in there. So next thing, here's our EC2. We create our EC2s. It's going to basically count. It's basically going to create the it's going to create EC2s based on the number that you've given it. Basically, right now it's set to 2, so it's only going to create 2. It's setting the instance types to our instance types variables, which is pretty much in this case going to be T3 micro. It's setting the AMI. The AMI is the only thing that's hard coded, and I'm going to change that in the future. Here's it's basically given this subnet ID, its availability zone, is security groups IDs, which is we already saw those. We haven't gone over those yet. It's going to give the key name, and then it's going to go ahead and run that user data using that data file which I just created, which was created up here. And then it's going to set the root block device. What is the root block device? That's pretty much your C drive or your root drive on a Linux instance. So that is going to be I'm just setting the size of that to 20 gigs, and then just basically as tags, this is going to be web dashed and whatever the index was of the um of the EC2. Like I said, count 0 is it's going to be like web 0, 1, 2, 3, or whatever. The next thing we saw was our VPCs. It's creating a VPC here. It's creating the network, the internet gateway here. It's basically setting, this is why I was having so much problems. because of the fact that I set the subnet to the subnet ID, the subnet tag to whatever the VPC tag was. So I'll just call it subnet for right now, and just leave it at that for right now, because LinkedIn only allows me 15 minutes to explain these things. So it's creating the subnet ID. I mean the gateway. It's creating the subnet tag, the subnet here, and it's creating it based on the number of EC2s that are being created. It's going ahead. It's going ahead. It's here. This is where it's creating the route table. It's creating the site. It's setting the it's basically setting the route and everything. The source giving this tag of the public route table name, and associating it and creating and doing the association, the subnet associations with the route table based on the number of EC2s that are created. So if you create two EC2s, it's going to automatically create two subnets and associate those two subnets to the public route table. And that's what it's going to do. All right. So next thing, we're going to go in, it's going to create the security groups. That's pretty much self-explanatory with the security groups. I don't really need to explain it. Just going in here, just creating a security group, giving it an ID, giving it the tag, and then opening the ports that needs to be open for each one. All right. So that's pretty much it. Um, that's pretty much it right now regarding it. Except for the outputs, this just outputs the public DNS and the public IP of the EC2 instance, and pretty much. And then also, then you got this secrets, which basically has the provider and also the region, which I hard coded that, which I need to just change it to the region variable, and also where I'm telling Terraform to where to go get my credentials, basically get my secret key and access key. Um, so that's pretty much it. Outside of that, this is pretty much everything. Um, so what I'm gonna do? Oh yeah, meanwhile, let me go ahead and do this real quick. Subnet name. Here it is. I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and we're going to do by count. I think it's dot index. And what that's doing is basically going to name it subnet, or I'm going to put it pub subnet. And basically what this does is it's basically going to count. It's basically going to do a index count. So it's going to basically name it tag pub sub 0, pub sub 1, 2, and 3. And that's all it's going to do. But other than that, that is pretty much it. Don't really have anything else to explain in this video. I just want to make sure first that that script runs. I'm talking about that the change, it basically haven't broken anything. I'm gonna do this real quick, and then we can just go ahead and call it a video, because pretty much everything has already been done. But like I said, this script is still in its infancy. It's just you know just finished it today pretty much. So right now, there's still a lot of things that needs to be done. But other than that, it's still something that could really help somebody use it, that somebody could use as a reference or something like that. So so it really won't be up online until probably about another two, maybe probably next week or the week after, depending on because I'm hopefully I'm not too lazy and just forget. All right, but I do appreciate y'all time, and I thank you for taking the time to look at these videos. All right, I'll see you in the next one. If there's another one, I don't know. All right, peace.